Welcome to the Summer MilSpouse Transformation series. I am Christine, I'm a seasoned military spouse marketing strategist, mindset coach for military spouses, and I put together this series for the summer since, number one, I am actually in the middle of APCS, and number two, because I wanted this summer to be about helping you practically transform your life as a military spouse. Today, we are kicking off this summer series and really laying the foundation for what we're going to cover together in the next couple of months. I am so excited about this. I've been working on it for several months now, knowing that I was going to be navigating another overseas move and my second overseas move as a podcaster. That's kind of crazy. Can you believe this show has been airing weekly episodes for over 3 years now? Because my heart is to help military spouses tap into their potential and purpose and truly be able to find fulfillment as a military spouse. I believe you have something to offer the world, and I want to see you step into who you were created to be. But I know that can feel overwhelming when you're just trying to get through the day. How do we step into who we are meant to be if we have no idea who we are? How do we transform our lives when we don't even know where to begin, when we're just trying to make it through the day? This episode is all about helping you have a jumping off point to begin to transform your life from the inside out, because you and I cannot control most of our circumstances, where we live, what our family situation looks like, what job opportunities are available to us, who we live nearby. The one thing we can control and change is ourselves. And changing our lives begins with us. It begins with a choice to work on ourselves and how we relate to the world around us. So if you are ready to come on this journey of self-discovery, of transformation, and of this path towards growth and goal setting, then let's jump inside today's episode. Welcome to More Than A Milspouse, the podcast for military spouses who want to live with more meaning and less overwhelm. I'm your host, Christine, seasoned military spouse, mom of 3, life coach, and your guide to intentionally designing a life you're excited about as a military spouse. I'm here to help you get the clarity you need so you can get unstuck and unlock your purpose and potential. Because you, my friend, are more than a milspouse. You have something valuable to offer. And when you pursue the things that light your heart on fire, you trade frustration for fulfillment and isolation for a life of impact. It's time to discover who you are meant to be, because together we can change the world. Now, if you have spent very much time with me, you know I love reading and quotes, and one of my favorite quotes comes from Brendan Burchard, who says, "It is a lack of a decisive cause, something worth striving for, an ambitious purpose that sets our hearts ablaze and our feet marching forward, that locks us into unlived lives." And what I have seen and experienced in my own life and in the lives of so many military spouses that I've talked to is that we feel a bit lost. We've all had that moment where we really, really struggled. We struggled with who we are. We struggled with what our life became. We struggled with things not looking the way that we thought they were going to look. And we struggled, so many of us, with not having the sense of meaning and purpose in our lives. We had so much of our lives that was dictated for us. We put our dreams, our plans, our careers, all of these things on the back burner because of the craziness and uncertainty of military life. But without that sense of purpose, without having that thing that we're working towards, that thing that lights our soul on fire, we get locked into unlived lives. It is this lack of living into our purpose and potential that locks us into unlived lives. And we get to this place where our life feels full. Our time is spoken for. There are so many people and things and volunteer opportunities and the need to be the primary parent and in taking care of everyone around us. And so we're not even sure where we begin to find ourselves again, much less to figure out what our purpose is and figure out how to live with purpose and pursue our own goals and dreams in the midst of military life. And so because we don't know how to break free, how to get unstuck, what we need to do, we stay stuck. We keep waiting for that future season, for the right time to begin to cultivate a life that truly lights us up. Now, there are many ways to break free, to get out of this sense of stuckness and purposelessness. Last month, we did the Unlocking Identity series, and we talked about how we began to reconnect with ourselves so that we can step into our purpose. And this whole summer, I'm going to give you a different framework that you can work through to break free, to get unstuck. This is my favorite tool for self-discovery and goal setting as a military spouse, because what I learned as I studied is that setting goals matters because goals give us a sense of direction. They give us something to work towards. They help us set our priorities. They help us sustain momentum. Setting goals can actually improve our mental health and well-being. It can grow our confidence. It can increase our level of success. But setting goals only matters if we set and pursue the right goals for us. And we can't set the right goals for us until we first figure out what we want and where we want to go and what really matters to us. You see, 6 years ago, I felt stuck. I felt lost as a military spouse. I had just given birth to my third baby in 4 years. We were living in our fourth house in that same amount of time, and the lack of job flexibility and specifically maternity leave options and limited childcare options led me to become what I called an accidental stay-at-home mom. And when I realized I wasn't thriving, I was surviving, I realized I wasn't showing up for the people in my life that I cared most about. I didn't like who I was. I didn't really even know who I was anymore or what I needed to do to get out of this funk, to stop feeling stuck. And I really asked myself, am I cut out for life as a military spouse? Is it possible for me to thrive in this lifestyle? Is it possible for me to do this, to support my spouse and his career and still find purpose and find a way to love my life? And so in that moment, I went on a deep dive and I started reading and listening everything that I could get my hands on about purpose and about goal setting and about business and entrepreneurship and mindset and self-discovery. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I get myself unstuck? Is it possible for me to love my life as a military spouse? And what I realized is that what matters is not what we accomplish. It's who we become. And that is not the answer that I was looking for in the moment. And I could spend a lot of time unpacking exactly how I got there and how I had to reorient my brain. But what I realized is that so much of our cultural programming is about success. It's about accomplishment. It's about climbing that career ladder, about achieving all of these milestones that are praised in our culture. But you can achieve all of those milestones. You can climb that career ladder. You can have what everyone else says is success. And time again, people will tell you they achieved those things. And when they got there, they realized they were still unhappy. They realized they were still unfulfilled. And my life not going the way that I planned my life as a military spouse gave me the opportunity to pause and to say, if all of these people who are getting all the things that I think I want right now are getting to that point and realizing that they are still unhappy and unfulfilled, what can I learn from their stories? And what I learned is that what matters is not what we accomplish. It's who we become. At the end of the day, we can accomplish great things and still feel frustrated, stuck, empty, and unfulfilled. Because what I realize is that a deeply meaningful and fulfilling life is possible, but only when we focus on who we are becoming. And what matters most is developing the long-term habits that help us fulfill our potential and that lead us to discover the person that we were created to be and to live into that identity. The problem with focusing our energy on outcomes and success metrics is that it ultimately doesn't lead to a fulfilling life. So if fulfillment comes from focusing on who we are becoming, then we need to ask the question, who are we becoming? And an even better question to ask is, who do I want to become? So how do we answer that question? And then how do we set our goals around this question? Well, this is how the growth wheel and the MilSpouse flexible goal setting method came to be, because I realized that the answer to finding a fulfilling life, creating fulfilling life, was in setting growth goals, goals that encompassed all areas of my life, goals that were not based on a specific outcome, but on a process that would lead me towards who I wanted to become. And the first step, that foundational step, was knowing where we want to go and who we want to be. It is about having a vision for our life and our future. Now, what I would encourage you to do, if you do not yet know who you want to be, go back and listen to the series on unlocking our identity. That is where you begin to reconnect with yourself, to get clear on who you are and what you want. Now, if you want to go through the whole framework that I have created, that is why the MilSpouse Purpose Playbook exists. This is a step-by-step guide to help you understand, to get clarity around who you are, who you want to be, how you want to show up, and how we begin to do this in the midst of military life. That goes through all of the pieces of the puzzle. But if you are not ready to step into that, you can find the link for that in the show notes. But if you're not ready to jump into that, I highly recommend that you go back and start with listening to the free series on unlocking our identity. But once we get that foundation built, once we know where we want to go, then the second step that leads us down this path of transformation, and honestly, whether you have gotten that clarity or not, if you have that full framework, that full clarity, this is going to be even more beneficial. But even if you don't have that piece in place, the second step in this process is beginning to look at these 10 core areas of your life and setting growth goals based on who you want to be. In my journey, I realized that these pieces that I was reading about in self-discovery and mindset and growth and identity and purpose could all be explained in one visual, which I named the growth wheel. Now, since we are talking via audio, I don't have that visual to show you right now, but if you click on the link in the show notes or you go to my website, you will be able to download a free copy of the growth wheel so you can see this visually for yourself. Now, if you are just listening as you are driving or as you are folding laundry or as you are making dinner, just picture a circle divided into 10 slices with a smaller circle in the middle of the large circle. And that center circle asks a question. Who do I want to be? And so we take these 10 core areas of our life, the 10 slices of pie, if you will, and ask, how am I doing in each of these areas? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up in each of these areas? And what habits do I want to develop in each area? What action can I take that will help me grow in each area that will ultimately lead me towards who I want to become? Because that is always our guide for what we do, the actions that we take. So if you have downloaded that worksheet and the life assessment that goes with it, you will see there are questions for each of these 10 areas. And these questions ask you to rate each of these 10 areas of your life so that you have a baseline for where you are today. There is absolutely no shame in this. All of us have a starting point. Do not worry if your number is not what you want it to be. This is simply information to help you make future decisions. On the second page, you have an opportunity to reflect on why you gave each area the number that you did and one thing that you could do to grow in each area. These 10 areas are number 1, rest and play. Number 2, our mind. Number 3, our body. Number 4, our spirit. Number 5, our home environment. Number 6, our relationship with our spouse or significant other. Number 7, our relationship with family members. Number 8, our relationship with friends. Number 9, our finances. And number 10, our purpose. And at the end of the day, these 10 areas can be broken into 3 big buckets. These buckets are really important because these are our fundamental needs. They are our care bucket, our connect bucket, and our contribution bucket. And that is why the growth wheel has arrows pointing in a clockwise direction, because we've got to have healthy inputs if we want to have healthy outputs. We have to take care of ourselves if we want to be able to connect in and have healthy relationships with others and to be able to pursue our purpose. Because without caring for ourselves, if we are pouring all of our time and energy into other people and into serving others and making a contribution, eventually we will burn out. We have to make sure that we have healthy inputs and that we are caring for ourselves. But we can care for ourselves. We can take care of ourselves all day. We can have great relationships all day. But we're going to feel like something is missing unless and until we have a sense of purpose. We need that sense of purpose to have a fulfilling life, to be able to thrive. So that, in a nutshell, is the growth wheel. And what I do every month and every year is assess how I'm doing in each area and think about what I want my focus to be, which area or areas I want to grow in the next month or in the next few months or in the next year. And while we would love to have a perfect 10 in each area, that's not really realistic for most of us unless we have like all of the time in the world, which most of us don't. But this is about how we can grow, what specific actions we can take to help us move the needle. And so over the next several weeks in our time together on this podcast, we're going to be looking at each of these 10 areas in much greater detail. And I wanted to spend this time together to really unpack these ideas with you and talk about why each area is important and give you ideas for specific actions you can take to grow in that area. And my hope is that these ideas resonate with you, that they get you thinking, that they speak to you, and that they show you that transformation is not something that is big and broad and happens overnight or in a spectacular format. This is about the daily rhythms and the habits, the actions that we take that don't seem like a big thing, but that over time can truly change the trajectory of our lives. It is these small actions, the daily habits that we develop that truly transform our life from the inside out. As speaker and author Jim Rohn says, you cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, the wind, but you can change yourself. That is something that you have charge of. And change begins by assessing where we are at, who we want to be, and specific actions and habits that we can take to move us closer to who we want to be and ultimately to a fulfilling life. So again, the Growth Wheel Assessment is currently available for free for you to download just by clicking the link in the show notes or by going to the website. I hope that you will download it. I hope that you will share this message with a friend who needs that reminder that we can change our lives. We can transform our lives. We can create a fulfilling life as a military spouse. And ultimately, I hope you keep listening this summer as I bring on guests each week to help us unpack each of these areas of our life in much greater detail. Next week, we are starting off with the place where we all need to begin, even though it's a very countercultural place to begin. We are starting from a place of play and rest, and I invite you to come learn why this is so important, because we know conceptually it is important, but we really need to attach ourselves to why this matters, why this is so vital to our health and well-being, and how we can begin to cultivate this in our lives, regardless of what season we find ourselves in. So I will meet you back here next week for that. Until then, may you live filled, fueled, and full of joy. Hey, amazing MilSpouse. Before you go, I want you to know that I love hearing from you. The More Than A Milspouse community exists to help you thrive as a military spouse. Figure out what lights your heart on fire and empower you to live with purpose and impact. You can have an incredible impact simply by heading over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. But your impact doesn't stop there. You can empower those around you simply by sharing an episode with a friend or neighbor, someone who needs a little encouragement in this military life. And if this episode was meaningful to you, spread the love by taking a screenshot of this episode and tagging me on Instagram so we can continue to reach more people, change more lives, and shift the way that military spouses look at life. Because we are better together. Together, we can change the world. Let's do it.